So, Leinster 42, Lyon 14. We just watched here in the company of Keith Wood and James Downey. I think we've spoken loads during the game itself about just how comfortable Leinster have been this season. There was one man looking on, Andy Farrell. I know you were talking with Joe a little bit earlier on about the players he would have seen. Who do you think stood out this afternoon who might have given Andy Farrell a little bit of food for thought ahead of his first Six Nations?
I think Max Deegan played very well. He played really well. I thought Furlong played well. I also thought Andrew Porter played well when he came on, and Dave Carney had a good game. It was a little bit messy in terms of attention to detail, and that can kind of infect everybody else and around it. But they were the guys I thought that stood out for me.
I was just down speaking to Leo Cullen and Max Deegan as well. Leo Cullen, one thing that he pointed out was, I think, he was actually quite pleased that there were stages in the game Lyon did give them a bit of a challenge, particularly leading up to half time, and it gave him the opportunity to have those few words with his players, and you could see them when they came out in the second half just went through the gears a bit smoother.
Yeah, I think so. I think just sloppy at the start of that first half, and no one would have thought it was going to be 21-14 going in at the break, and I think they needed something at half time just to really give them that kick, because they were pretty lethargic out there, and there's one or two small errors that weren't going their way, but to get 5 points to come away with that and to actually be able to improve in their performance next week is going to stand to them.
He looked like a giddy child, Leo Cullen, when I asked him how does he go about each week figuring out how to choose between Caolan Doris or Max Deegan over the last few weeks.
Yeah, well, he'll have fun now, because when he makes the choice and the choice becomes man of the match, that makes it a little
virtually
bit
every week.
Yeah, it makes it, which is brilliant. But we were discussing earlier on, it depends on what they're actually looking for on a given day. They can mix it up very differently. That makes it really hard for an opposition coach to say, okay, who are we playing against? Well, if they play him, they may play that way. If they play this guy, are they going to do things very, very differently? So, look, he's holding all the cards at the moment.
And Max, when I told him Andy Farrell obviously was sitting up in the stands watching, he was saying, well, I hope I gave him something to watch out for today. He certainly did, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he did. Everything he does, he's a line option. He's able to carry, and he's a link man as well, and that's the beauty of him being able to play in those other positions. He can play 8 and he can play across the back, and he has these small little extras that will hopefully get him involved in that squad. He's certainly going to be in the back of his mind, so hopefully he can bring it to the front, and with performances like that, why not?
With Joey Carberry out injured for the Six Nations as well, and with Jack Carty struggling to kind of capture his form from last season for Connacht, Ross Byrne obviously has an opportunity here, even with Johnny Sexton likely to be available for the Six Nations. How do you think he went today?
Well, I think if you look at it with the injury profiles that are there, I think you'd probably be still going back with Johnny, even though he hasn't played any rugby, because there's something more assurance for the rest of the players. I think he does an awful lot really well. He's a fantastic goal kicker. He kicks in the corner really well. For me, I want him to take the ball to the line a little bit more. He has to interest the defensive setup. He has to maybe become a little bit more robust. We talked about that for guys in the back row, but he crumples a little bit on contact. And that's something he just has to take a bit more confidence into. He knows and has to know he's going to get hit a few times, but he's going to have to do that, because even if he only does it 2 or 3 times a half, that keeps the opposition backline and defence thinking, and that's what he needs to do. I thought he played pretty well today, with the exception of being a little bit too deep.
Yeah, look, I think you see the hits that Johnny takes at that next level. It's that big stage, and I think his game management is second to none. He can read the game. He's exceptional with ball in hand as well in terms of controlling the game, kicking corners, and if he brings that extra small bit, I think it can really bring him on as a player, and it can bring him on into that extra, to step up to that international standard. If he can take it to the line and take that pressure off the back row, it'll be huge.
Finally then, Leinster 15 wins out of 15, home quarter final.
Very average.
In a great position to make it a home semi-final as well if they can get over the quarter final.
Yeah.
Could they go the whole season unbeaten?
I don't think they care. I think they'd like to do it. I don't think it's a target. I think it's one of those things. Yeah, we'd love to have that at the end of the year.
If you have 2 trophies, it doesn't matter how many games you've lost.
Well, exactly. I think that's what their target is. That's what everybody else gets kind of caught up with. But I don't think they particularly care.
And on two trophies.
Look, I think they want to be there at the end of the season. They were disappointed last season, and this is a kick back on it now. And look at the squad he has, the way they're going, the momentum's with them as well. Competition within that squad is immense, and I expect them to come out with something at the end of the year, and hopefully too.
James, Keith, thanks a million for joining us this afternoon.
Great. Cheers.
Cheers, lads.